We told you last week, if the starting pitching comes around, good things can happen for the Cleveland Guardians. It didn't result in a series win over the weekend, but it did this week, and it could result in a sweep. And it's coming on at the most important time for the Cleveland Guardians.
Tanner Bobby the Guardians, and you're listening to Locked On Guardians.
You are Locked On Guardians, your daily podcast on the Cleveland Guardians. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, friends, into a winning Wednesday, possibly a sweeping Thursday edition of Locked On Guardians, the daily podcast in your Cleveland Guardians, proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team, your Cleveland Guardians every day, making it more fun to be a Guardians fan in the wake of all other things that are happening in Cleveland. But good things are happening for the Guardians, and you're tuned in to the best half hour on Cleveland Guardians Talk. I am Justin Latta. I have been watching Cleveland Guardians baseball my entire life. They've given me lots of heartbreak like other Cleveland teams, but I have been covering their minor league system since 2007. You can find my Guardians minor league analysis over at the News Herald, the Morning Journal, nextyearincleveland.substack.com, and here 5 days a week with my co-host and better half of the show, Jeff Ellis, who never breaks my heart.
I try my best to be I'm not a heartbreaker or a rule taker, so don't mess around with me. I am Jeff Ellis, though. I am one of your two co-hosts. You're one of the first people Locked On reached out to when they wanted to expand into baseball. Before that, I was a national writer at Scotland 24/7, focused on prospects in the draft. And very quickly, I want to say thank you for making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day wherever you get podcasts. And thank you to all of our everydayers out there. I know everydayer Dave Wendell is very excited for this Logan Allen chat today. He's been driving that bus. So everydayer Dave Wendell, this one's for you.
And Will Brennan's back. He couldn't be more thrilled about
talk about other ends of the spectrum for him.
Yeah. Yes. On today's Locked On Guardians, of course, the Guardians defense has been a little bit maligned this year, but it's been good in other ways. We'll get into the Guardians' weird defense this season. We'll talk about why it is important for the Guardians to have this good stretch right now with their schedule coming up. But first, we'll kick it off with the starting pitching. Jeff, we had said last week, we brought it up. I said, if the Guardians starting pitching could start to be more consistent and come around, this team could really take off. They haven't really taken off yet, but in their last 27 innings pitched, and Ben Lively only threw 3 of them because he got hurt, the starting pitching rotation this last time through has only allowed 2 earned runs. And they've walked 9 batters. 4 of those came from Gavin Williams. They've struck out 27. They've allowed 17 hits. Their ERA for their starting rotation this last trip through was .67. That's as good a trip through the rotation as I can remember for this team. I don't know, 2022 maybe with Bieber, McKenzie, and Savali or whoever. Like, I don't think they had a good trip through the rotation last year this good. You know, you got Bibee and Lively, or maybe you had one good Gavin Williams start. Like, I don't think they had a trip through the rotation this good all of last season.
No, there's no way they did all of last season. It was pretty bad. Remember how bad the rotation was all of last? It was Tanner, and then eventually you had Matthew Boyd who stepped in. But really, outside of those two, Ben Lively in the first half, second half he faded. We'll see, but really there just wasn't anyone else. This couldn't have happened. I was kind of curious. In the last 15 days, they've got a 2.88 ERA, and they're 5th in the league in strikeouts. It's really been over the last even 2 weeks, not just last week, last 2 weeks. I remember I like to listen to out of town broadcasts. Everyone knows this. The Brewers broadcasters were talking yesterday. They're like, Cleveland, this was partway through yesterday's game. It was not even before the starter was pulled, not counting today's game, that they had like a 2.8 ERA over the last 2 weeks. So this starting pitching staff has been really, really strong. You can argue is it the strength of the team over these last 2 weeks?
I think you didn't give up. You had 2 starters who only allowed, 2 runs to the Phillies. You didn't have any runs allowed to the Brewers the last 2 nights, which, by the way, here's a weird quirk for you. The Guardians had back-to-back shutouts on May 12th, May 13th this week. Jeff, the last time the Guardians had back-to-back shutouts was May 12th and May 13th, 2024. So don't play the Guardians on May 12th and May 13th because you won't score any runs, apparently.
Well, it also reminds me, being someone here in Milwaukee, like they got swept by the Brewers, and like the starting pitching of the Brewers completely shut them down.
Yep.
They might have even got shut out in one of those games. It's like what a difference a year makes.
Yeah, they didn't play well against Milwaukee last year at all. I mean, they had guys step up last night. Logan Allen, this was probably the best Logan Allen's looked all year. Probably the best Logan Allen has honestly looked since 2023.
100%.
Yeah, he had the fastball working. Like, you could see him pounding right-handers up and in with the fastball, and he was going up and away from lefties with the fastball. I mean, he got Christian Yelich. I know Christian Yelich is not like the Christian Yelich he used to be anymore, and he's not having a good season, but he reared back late in the game. I think it was his last thing. I think it was the 6th inning, and he threw a 92-mile-an-hour fastball. And Logan Allen, his fastball velocity was actually down in this one. It was only 90-91. So 92 and 93 was kind of where it got topped out for him. But he blew Yelich away up in the zone. It was a strike, and he swung right through it. It was 92. But he had, Yelich on his heels. And a lot of the reason he's been able to do that is because he's been more effective with the cutter. Like, he's reduced the 4-seam fastball usage. He's got 3 fastballs now. We know a lot of these guys who predict pitching breakouts, like whether it's Stuff Plus models or everything else, it's a lot of, okay, guys who throw 3 fastballs can be more successful because you have the fastball 3 different ways. He sinks it, he cuts it, he has the 4-seam. And now that he's ramped up the usage of that cutter, guys aren't sitting on the 4-seam as much, so it's being more effective. And obviously the sweeper was really good in this one. It was by far the best pitch mix I think he's had all season. He had 11 whiffs, which is the most he's had since I think May of last season. So, and I think he actually pitched in one of those shutouts last season on May 12th, ironically. So, Logan Allen, month of May, I guess, just really good. But that was really encouraging to see. I don't know. We haven't done a stock watch Wednesday in a while, Jeff, but I don't know how much stock I'm buying in Logan Allen. And then you could even go back and say, like, okay, Gavin Williams walked the tightrope, got a little bit lucky, but the stuff was still there to get out of those situations. But Luis Ortiz was dominant. Tanner Bybee was dominant. I would say Logan Allen was dominant. Ben Lively was pitching good. We'll see what happens on Saturday. We can get into that a little bit, but this is definitely a really good time for the pitching to come around because he didn't have a lot of offense the last 2 nights. José Ramírez did all the work last night offensively. He did it again tonight. I mean, this is why Jose is one of the most special players in the league. He basically won the Guardians the game on Monday with his legs, and he did it both ways on Tuesday. He had the home run. It was the only run until the late in the game. And then he scored from first on a oopsie play from Jackson Churio on a Kyle Manzardo triple, who has 2 of the 3 triples this year. Yeah. Kyle they had back-to-back shutouts the same day as the last 2 years, and then Kyle Manzardo now leads the team in triples. There are weird things happening, but they're good things.
That's now Jose is one of the 3 stars of the game in 5 straight games. I just want to point that out. Like, he has gone on such a little heater here, even though he's not doing huge things. I mean, the home run was pretty
said that
wrong.
Who said he was going to go on a heater? Did we say that? I think we said that yesterday.
Did we? We might have.
Every day will remember.
But yeah, you give a lot of credit to Logan Allen. Like, he can. So, right now it's really interesting because you have Logan Allen and you have Nolan Jones, and you want to talk about like opposite baseball savant profiles. And I think we're seeing in both cases, like, you can have everything red, but if you can't square up on the baseball, then it's not going to work. And on the other side of it, it's like you can have a lot of blue, but if you have a good pitch mix, you can, like, there have been a lot of guys of mediocre stuff who have made long careers in this league being lefties. Lefties are weird. You don't get to see as much of them. Like, maybe this is going to work out, or maybe I'm going to come back in like a week and be like, okay, I got a little overhyped from one good start against a really bad Brewers line. I mean, the Brewers went out and traded for Daz Cameron because they needed an outfielder. Like, this is one of the most beat up teams in baseball. Living in this city, it is. A lot of people are very frustrated right now, and even the guys who are healthy. Joey Ortiz was awesome a year ago. He's been awful. Like, it's not a great Brewers team, but we always say you gotta beat the teams like this. Take advantage of a team when they're down. Guardians are doing exactly that.
They are, and it's a good time for them to do it because the Guardians' schedule gets a little bit harder from there. We will talk about why this is an important stretch for the Guardians to start getting things off on a good foot before a road trip. That's coming up next on today's Locked On Guardians. If you are in HVAC, plumbing, electrical work, you need to get the supplies that you need for the site made for skilled trades. That's Supply House. Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. They have the most easy to use website that is packed with so many helpful resources. It's going to help you get the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, they have a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400 plus top brands. You're going to find exactly what you need. It's going to be delivered fast to you, coast to coast. If you need help with an order, Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service. You're always going to talk to a real person. No chatbots, no phone prompts, none of this customer service emails, stuff back and forth. You're going to talk to a real person when you're ordering parts that you need for a job. If you're a trade pro and you're looking for an extra edge, the free Trade Master program offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, so you can always call in to get the stuff for your business and talk to a dedicated rep. Free shipping, discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled trade professionals are already taking advantage of this, so now it is your turn to do the same. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM. Start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. And if you're going to use our promo code SH5 when you do it, you're going to get 5% off your first order. That is at supplyhouse.com. Really good timing for the Guardians to play well for multiple reasons. One is we're all in Cleveland sitting a little bit despair today because of the Cavs, if you're a Cavs fan. So the Guardians win, at least for me, makes its thing a little bit less because, I mean, I watched that Cavs game and, yeah, it was a disappointing end, but the Guardians are playing good baseball, and that always makes me feel good. It should make everybody feel good. The Tigers were losing until they were winning. They had a back-and-forth battle with the Red Sox as we were recording this, and Javi Baez hit a walk-off home run in the 11th inning after they were down by 2 runs. So
Too early to scoreboard watch.
It is a little bit, but I'm paying attention because the Tigers are really good, and the Guardians are playing the Tigers next week. So a lot of good things, I think, are happening for the Guardians in terms of Jose is getting on a heater, right? The starting pitching is looking good. We got to talk about Emmanuel Clase starting to turn things around because after this game with the Brewers on Wednesday, if they play with the weather impending, they get an off day, which is going to be obviously much needed. They go to Cincinnati. They got to play Terry Francona and the Reds, who, you know, are having a Jekyll and Hyde season. But that ballpark's hard to pitch in because it's a bandbox.
I will say one thing. Over the last 15 days, Brewers the worst offense in baseball, third worst the Reds. So they got to keep beating up on these teams that are really scuffling.
They do.
Pittsburgh in between.
I will say the Reds have had good days this year offensively, and they will face the best Reds pitching this weekend that the Reds have to offer outside of Hunter Green because he's hurt. Thank goodness. But you've got that game. Yeah, you've got that game coming up this weekend. That series, and then after that, you play the Twins, who are playing better, right now, and those AL Central games are always important. And then you finally are playing the Tigers for the first time all year. It is a 10-game, 11-day road trip before you come home on Memorial Day to face the Dodgers. So this is going to be a really important 14-game stretch for the Guardians in the month of May. And that's why it's really good to see them. And it may not continue. Things may change, but right now it's easy to feel good about where things are going because, Clase is in a better direction. Like I said, Jose is looking like he's heating up. The starting pitching's been better lately. Matt Festa has been a great addition. Like, good things are happening, and this is the right time to happen because, like you said, you've got to beat up on the Brewers. You've got to go out to Cincinnati and beat up on the Reds because you got the Twins, the Tigers, and the Dodgers all coming up, and those are going to be massively important games. So it's really good that there are positive things coming together at this time for the Guardians because they really need it.
We got the Twins to help pad your record because that's what they've been good for in the past few years.
That's true. Cleveland. The Twins have been a doormat for Cleveland. Yeah. Hope it keeps up.
Yeah, that'll keep going. You're talking through all that. I want to point out Clase, I mentioned off air very quickly. He's had 19 appearances this year. He's only had 4 clean innings. By clean inning, I mean there was no walk, no hit batter, no hits. 2 of them have come in, his last 5 or 6 starts, since Toronto. 2 of them have come in May. So that is a positive sign. We talked about some of his bad luck. Probably talk a little bit more about some of that in the defensive section. So, stay tuned for segment 3. But that is a really nice thing to see. José Ramírez last 15 days, an 852 OPS, 295 average, 359 on base, 493 slug. So it is, it's nice to see him starting to get back to the Jose level of performance. And hey, we're gonna, I think on tomorrow's show we'll talk about some of the guys doing rehabs, but it's like, there's still hope for Lane Thomas to come back and have a strong season. Maybe Chase Pilato can have a moment. David Fry, it's just so hard with Fry to figure it out because of the limitations, the supreme limitations there. But they've got all those pieces. it's. I think the only real bummer is the Ben Lively to the DL for Zach Kent. For people who are thinking that like Zach Kent going to be the starter? No, it's just like it gives you an extra bullpen arm, and if they have to send him down, they're not worried. That's really the only bummer that has been going on because Philly shut him down. Okay, Philly was a rough weekend, but outside of that, they've played really well in most facets of the game.
Yeah, there haven't been a whole lot of defensive hiccups, which we'll talk about in the final segment today. But yeah, starting pitchings look better lately. I mean, there was some rough moments in the National Series for sure. They pitched well up at in Toronto, I would say overall.
And the bullpen imploded with the Nationals, or we'd be talking about a sweep there as well.
Yeah, true. And I mean, thank God for the Nationals bullpen being bad on that one. But like Daniel Sheeman was a guy who stepped up this week. He's gone cold a little bit. Mm-hmm. That's going to happen. Bo Naylor got hot for a little bit. Now he's cooled off quite a bit. But now you're not. They weren't playing Brian Rocchio at all anyway. But now he's not a guy who's going to drag the bottom of your order down every couple of days whenever he plays. Carlos Santana still hasn't really gotten into a hot stretch either. Like he had a little bit, and then he is kind of cooled back off. He's still walking, which is good. He's always good for some walks. Like Kyle Manzardo, though, 2 big hits the last couple of days. He's still kind of working up and down in his first full season of big league ball. Will Brennan's back. I mean, they're still doing all this with absolutely zero production from right field. Nobody in right field is doing anything. Doesn't matter who plays out there. Angel Martinez has had some good stretches and some bad ones. Like they're still doing all this, and the lineup. And I guess again, we keep going back to the glass half empty, glass half full approach. Is that there are still spots in this lineup that have been dead, but they're 20, 25, and 17, and this is again the best the pitching has been in a while, and the bullpen's coming back to form a little bit more, and the offense just hasn't really gotten on track. And maybe it won't, but again, Jose's gotten better lately. Kwan's been on a heater, and other spots in the lineup are still sort of dead. So again, there are still more good things that could happen here, and they're winning games. They're finding ways to win.
I got to self-correct. My stat page reset itself. So that was Jose's numbers on the year, which are good. But the last 15 days, 354 average, 436 on base, 536 slug for 999 OPS.
How many steals in that stretch?
In the last, let's see, seven steals and 1 caught stealing. Schneemann during that time, 280, 954 OPS. Bo Naylor, third highest at 803. Carlos Santana, fourth highest at a 779. And Stephen Kwan at a 769 in the last 15. Manzardo is 6, and then and the thing with Manzardo, it's interesting is he is not the hitter that I thought he'd be. Where he is high whiff, high K. It's a lot of it coming from his slugging percentage, and then Angel Martinez has cooled off significantly. Last 15 is 661. He still has his moments though, and I am totally fine with him in center. Gabby is 607 in the same period. So. You're seeing some of those other guys perform. I think of all these, like, I mean, don't get me wrong, Jose being great is great, but like Bo Naylor last 15, that's the most encouraging. Let's see if he can do it. I felt like we would have stretches a year ago where you'd have like a good 2 weeks and then a bad month. Let's see if he can build a bit more this year.
Yeah, I mean, I will say some of the swings he's taken the last 2 days, especially against Uribe on Tuesday night, were not good. So
no,
I'm a little bit worried about that, him going back in the wrong direction with that. But that might be the hitter he always is. I don't know. Like he's still close to league average offensively. The Guardians haven't had a league average offensive catcher since Roberto Perez's
good year, right?
Yeah, and I mean Bo for the 3 months of 2023 was really, really good. But considering how many strides that Bo Naylor has made this year defensively, I'll take a catcher at 90 to 100 WRC plus, no matter what that looks like. And he's pretty close to that. So I'll take those things, especially not having, David Fry around this year to kind of bail you out, which we'll talk about a little bit more tomorrow. I'm really pleased with Jose running, to be honest with you. That's the thing I'm really excited about. Like, again, like I said yesterday, the sprint speed is his highest it's been ever, which is wild to me. And he feels confident and healthy. He's running. That's a good sign to me. Like, we always worry about the age with him. And if he's running like the way he has been like recently, that's a good thing. As long as he's getting on base, that's how you make things happen, right? When Jose gets on base, they can walk him if they want. And they did on Monday. They didn't on Tuesday. But, he gets on base, he's going to try to steal a base. I thought he would tonight, and he didn't. But hit the home run. So, like, that's the nice thing about Jose is he can beat you in multiple ways. and the Guardians can too. I mean, Quan had two? Did Quan have 2 hits in this one? I know he had
he had
I think he had 2 hits. So the top of the order is doing their thing for sure. I mean, you're still trying to find that consistent guy in the 2-hole, but things can still come around. I just hope they can carry that. Like the Dodgers are a little beat up right now. Like they just lost Roki Sasaki to the IL. I know that series is 2 weeks out, but they're a little bit beat up. So you want to be able to carry these things with you, hopefully.
And not counting the hit batters, the other thing too is like walking. Like Santana and Naylor both had 2 walks in this one. Like getting on base, doing that is still valuable. It's still, when they win, it feels like they've had 3 or more walks almost every game they've won. So it's just seeing that, I think, is something to continue to keep our eyes on.
Yeah, well, we've been saying it since the month of April. Like this team, their identity is to grind out at bats and take walks and get into the soft underbelly of the bullpens, which the Brewers have a decent bullpen, as we've seen, but if tomorrow you get a little bit deeper into that, it could be good on an off day or on a coming before an off day and give yourself a chance at a sweep. All right. The Guardians defense, it's been better lately. It was not good last month. Why has it not been good? But why has it also been good? Let's talk about the Guardians' strange defensive season on the rest of today's Locked On Guardians. Hey, want to thank you for making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day, wherever it is you get podcasts. We appreciate all of our everydayers, and we appreciate if you're new here as well. If you are new here and you haven't done these things, make sure you're hitting the bell on YouTube so you never miss an episode, never miss a reaction video. We post reaction videos after every game. We do them when there's big news. We also do them when there's other stuff going on we want to talk about as well. And I know Jeff will have them for the draft this year. Make sure you never miss an episode. And make sure you're auto-downloading on all your favorite platforms, whether it's Spotify, Apple, Overcast, Amazon Music, all that stuff. Make sure you're auto-downloading there so you never miss an episode. That helps us out a lot. We've had some good reviews on Apple Podcasts lately. We'll take that. And if you're interested, check out MLB Game Night, too. That is where our hosts, the hosts rotate every time, but they are taking you around every game in Major League Baseball. It's kind of like a better version of what we used to do on other networks doing baseball highlights. So they go through and they get hosts from every single game with their reaction videos. So it's local analysis on every single game. Nobody else is delivering that. Check out MLB Game Night after you listen to Locked On Guardians. All right, that month of April, Jeff, was not fun to watch defensively. I feel like we haven't had, I don't know what the counter is. Ever for a while we were doing the counter of, it's been how many days since our last?
I feel like Jose's drop pop-up was the last one that was like kind of an egregious.
When was that?
That error, wasn't that in the Philly series, I feel like?
Oh, okay. So it hasn't been that long since a weird one.
Yeah.
There's a good article over at Sports Info Solutions by Mark Simon that talked about the Guardians defense is actually really good, but they rank last in a lot of areas. And this article was written last week. But it talked about how the Guardians, not defensive runs saved, has been kind of, if you're looking at defensive metrics, has been kind of usurped by outs above average, which is on StatCast. But defensive runs saved was something we lived by a lot defensively on the analytical side for years. He talked about how they were one of the Guardians, they were one of the worst defensive teams in baseball in terms of ranking, in terms of defensive run saves. They were 29th, which is, not good. They were actually, and in run save, they were 11th overall. But the reason that their defense actually was pretty good is because they had 13 outfield assists. They were churning more double plays than other teams. They had 2 double play runs saved. They had the most assists, and they still have the most assists among outfielders in baseball, thanks to Quan and Nolan Jones mostly. They're up in the top of the league for pitch framing by Bo Naylor and Austin Hedges. They're holding runners better. All the starters are better at holding runners. They're second in stolen bases run save, so they've thrown out 4 or 14 base stealers when it's coming off the pitcher. And defensive positioning has been another thing that's been really good for them too, which you get credit for that even if you don't make the catch, because the system will rank you if you're in a good position to make a play, and if you don't. So overall, the Guardians defense has done a lot of good things. And, Jose will be fine. He has been fine for the most part, minus that drop pop-up. You got rid of Brian Rocchio, so Gabriel Arias is at second. That's much better. And you're still going to, the defensive run save thing. Carlos Santana is really good at first base, and the outfield assist, that's not going anywhere because Quan is great at that. Jones makes up for his lack of range by throwing runners out. Noel's got a good arm. Lane Thomas has a good arm. When he comes back, he'll add to that. It's one thing he does well defensively. So there are good areas of the Guardians defense, despite the very weird start, I will say.
Yeah, and if you go into Fangraphs team stats and you go into the advanced stats and you look at things like stolen base, saved runs, they're third. If you look at like double play save runs above average, they're second. Like it's all the secondary stuff. Their arm is second, outfield arm assist runs. They're just doing all these secondary things. Maybe not what we're used to seeing. Good fielding plays, run saved above average, seventh. Like, but the one that they are really not good in is plus minus save runs above average. That's the one that is their second worst in baseball, and that's probably because some of those miscues. But they're doing everything else. And I think, again, like Jose was pretty awful. It wasn't just the pop fly. Like he was bad for a while, which is unusual.
He has 6 errors.
Yeah, it's 6. That's unusual for him. Like he's normally, I don't know if I'd ever put him in the Gold Glove conversation. I just kind of he and ha, because maybe close. He's been close, I would say, to that conversation. Top 3. Yeah, I guess that puts him in the conversation. Yeah, he should be in the conversation. But like for him to be the complete opposite side, could have been health. Who knows? But he'll figure it out. I still think, I know Rocchio had great metrics a year ago, but eye test and arm, I feel like Arias is superior there. Listen, second base is going to be a downgrade. Gimme is the best defensive second baseman in my life, and I got to see Roberto Alomar. You're downgrading there no matter what. You're hoping the upgrade with the bat would balance it out, and Santana's an upgrade at first over Naylor. So, and
defensively, let's defensively be careful.
Defensively, someone's
going to comment and say,
I'm only commenting about defense. It's like, let's be 100% honest. It's only defense here. And then outfield, it is interesting because they've gone. Listen, I brought up that whole thing earlier where it's like the most balls get hit to left field, so you want maybe your best, most rangy guy there, and they have that with Kwan. And then after that, with everyone else, it's just about arm strength, like Noel, Cannon, Jones, Cannon. Martinez is a good arm for center field, and Kwan has a, he's never really talked about coming up with a great arm, but I'll tell you, he's a very accurate arm. Like he is so good about hitting the cutoff man. Like it's more accuracy, I feel like, than strength. And it's interesting because it's the first
too.
Yes. Yeah. It's a team that they're lined up in the right spots. They are getting, and I think it's also knowing tendency data. Like they're probably lined up. I wish I could just like have like the all 32 film or whatever they call it in the NFL, where it's like I could see how they line up before, like if they are lined up slightly different for every hitter. Like if they know like maybe this guy is more likely to hit it here for a double play or to here, like how the arrangement could change. I know you can't, do as much in baseball, but I'd be curious to see because they are getting more double plays than expected. They are in their positioning has been one of their great things. So, maybe there's a lot going on under the hood that we don't even know about.
Yeah, there is. And yeah, I mean, you see them pull those cards out of their pockets all the time, and that's to tell them where to stand for what players. And also, like, shout out to Kwan too, and JT McGuire, their outfield coach. Like, playing the left field wall in Cleveland is not easy. That's a hard wall to learn to play, and Kwan does it really well. He dekes guys out a lot. He turns around quickly. He plays the ball off the wall very quick. He gets his throws in quick. That's a hard place to play, and so is center field in Cleveland, I would say too, because if anything's hit to left center, your right center is a little bit easier, but left center is also difficult for Cleveland too. So that's always a challenging place to figure out. And then some of the defensive stuff for Class A too. Like I don't know, we didn't mention it in this article. I think there was a Fangraphs article we didn't get to a while ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, like a lot of bad defense has hurt him this year too. That's why his FIP is still so low.
Some of it being his own bad defense.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's a bad defender. Some of that's his Class A's own fault. He is a very bad defender. And we've talked about that before, about how people used to joke that, oh, they're keeping relievers down for service time because of defense. Like, no, it's a big deal. Like holding runners in defense is a big deal. And, it turns out Class A is just better when he doesn't allow runners to reach base, shockingly. I think you could say that for any pitcher, truthfully. But, defense has hurt him, too. Like, not having Jimenez has hurt him. And it was going to hurt everybody. You thought you were going to get great defense up the middle with Rocchio at short, based on metrics. And then Gabby playing second wasn't going to be a huge downgrade defensively. Like, it was going to be a downgrade, but it wasn't going to be huge. Now it's gone from a slight downgrade to a lot, with Gabby moving to short, but Gabby is the superior defender at short, and I wish you still could. I don't miss the shift, but I also am glad the shift is. If you still had the shift, you can make it work. Like I miss the days of Ronnie Belliard playing short right field. You could hide a lot of defensive deficiencies at second base with the shift. Now you can't, but I don't really miss it that much. I kind of am glad it's gone.
You
The way
didn't
it's
like
gone,
him
truthfully.
playing basically right field, Ronnie Bell.
Yeah, the softball position. Yeah, like
Yeah.
you're the short right fielder. Yeah, I don't miss that at all. But the Guardians defensively, again, they do a lot of things well. Catcher defense has been good. We know how important that is to them, and for the lack of range in the outfield, they're making up with arms. So guys aren't
Yeah,
running as much, and they're throwing guys out when they do. So those things are going to help long term, and hopefully the rest of it will kind of bounce back to the norm with like Jose and Gabby taking over short.
Yeah, because it is fascinating. Like again, I would recommend going in the Fangraphs Team Stats Advanced Staff. Like outs above average, third worst in baseball. Range based on positions, third worst in baseball. But then you look at their defensive metric, 10th best defense in baseball. So it's all that secondary stuff that we're talking about. And that's why that's important. That's why it's things you got to look at, because and as you say, when they clean that stuff up, they might go from 10 to top 3.
Could be. And like you said yesterday too, like with the pitching, incremental improvements. We think about,
Yes.
Improving as this big chunk of, you've got to get, from here to here, from C to an A. But when you're going from a D to a C, those incremental improvements across the board from C to D can add up. And that's the same for pitching. It's the same for hitting. It's the same for anything. Anything you can improve from a D to a C is a huge upgrade. You don't always have to look to go from a D to an A. Like you can still see marginal improvements, and that's how the Guardians win. They have to win in the margins, and that's kind of the things they've been doing lately. All right, they'll go for the sweep on Wednesday if the rain allows. Hopefully the rain will not drown it out, because the Cavs have done a good enough job on their own with that. So yeah, Jeff's got his vacuum out. He's ready to sweep the Brewers back to Milwaukee. We'll be back in your feeds on Thursday. We'll either talk Guardians Brewers Game 3 if it happens. If not, we'll talk about other stuff. But we have to talk about the rehab stints. We've got multiple guys on rehab assignments, and they're going to be returning. We'll talk about how all that's going to work. We'll talk about pitching options for Saturday. We didn't get that today, so we'll talk about that as well on tomorrow's Locked On Guardians. So come right back. We do it every day, and we hope to have you with us. It's our favorite half hour of the day. We hope it's your favorite half hour as well.
Thank you for joining us. Remember to rate and review, download daily, set up auto downloads, and go Guardians go.